Hi everyone. Today I'm going to teach you how to make the earth sad. Alright, so one of my qualifications. Why should you listen to me tell you how to cut down a tree? I've personally cut down over 100 trees in my life, in Minecraft. Right, now to the boring part of the presentation. So there are three main components to cutting down a tree. There's the notch, the hinge, and the back cut. Right, so how does it work? We usually want trees to fall in a certain direction, right? So we'll cut a notch, and the hinge allows the tree to fall in the direction that the hinge folds. So the crucial aspect here is that the hinge is weak in one dimension while being strong in another dimension. The hinge doesn't break immediately, but it breaks slowly, so as the tree is falling, it guides the tree as it falls down. Right, so what are some assumptions that we make? Firstly, we model the tree as a vertical cylinder, right? And we have a perfect chainsaw. You can think of it as a lightsaber. What are some of our concerns, right? We don't want the tree to hit people, and we don't want the tree to hit other things we care about. And what do we not consider in this presentation? Often we cut down trees because we want to sell the wood. And the wood from a tree is often very valuable, like you can get like $5,000 for an average tree size of wood. There are other complications which I'll briefly go over later at the end of the presentation, such as if you have an actual chainsaw and not a lightsaber. And finally, like numbers and proportions, we can ignore all that. So, more details about the physics of a tree, right? So let's say we want the tree to fall in a certain direction, right? We make a notch, we leave a hinge, and we make a back cut. Right. So from a side view, we have a notch, we have our hinge, and we have a back cut. Right? Similarly, we can see that this is the direction of the fall. So one thing you might wonder about is why the back cut is above the pivot point of the hinge. Right? Yeah, so little demo that only the front row will be able to see. So let's model the tree as a little umbrella. What happens when I drop the... Right, so I use my foot as a marker. What happens when I drop the umbrella to the side? You should see that the base will actually slip outward. Right? And that's really bad for two reasons. Right? Firstly, it breaks the hinge. And secondly, it breaks the bones of the tree cutter. So what do we do if we want it to not slip out the side, right? We simply put something behind it, and as I drop, it doesn't slip backward. So that's exactly what the hinge does, right? As the tree falls forward, the hinge prevents the tree from kicking back off the stump. The step in the hinge. Right? And these are some other complications that may happen if your tree cutter doesn't do a good job. So we want the notch to line up nicely. But what happens when it doesn't line up nicely? Right? Basically what happens is that when the tree starts to fall, it creates a pinch point, which creates a lot of tension on the hinge. Now the hinge is no longer being broken, but it's in a lot of tension, which causes the tree to split outward. So this is called barber chairing because it sort of looks like a barber chair. And once again, results in death. Right, so what are some possible complications that one may encounter when cutting down trees? Right, firstly, there may be branches, right? Earlier we modeled it as a cylinder. The tree may be leaning in an undesired direction. And finally, we may have a tree that's very, very big. Or as we call it in the industry, a big-ass tree. Right, so with branches, what can happen is that, once again, people die. So what you do when the tree is leaning in an unwanted direction? You make it such that your hinge is disproportional. So if the lean is this way, right, we create a thicker section of hinge that sort of pulls the tree backwards. Right, and finally, when we have a big ass tree, what we can actually do is cut through the center of the hinge while leaving the sides for strength to prevent it falling sideways. And so this is what it looks like after you cut the tree down properly. Right? You see your broken part of hinge, the part of hinge that you cut out, and the step. And finally, the end. Here's a virtual trees. A virtual X, please don't cut down any real trees. And with great power comes great responsibility.